Welcome back to Stop Interviewing, Start Selling, everybody. I'm your host, Philip Meyer, and today we have two extremely special guests on the show. Taylor Sims, route service representative for Chubbuck, Idaho, and Chris Downs, also route service representative for East Idaho. Gentlemen, what's up? How you guys doing?
How you doing?
Doing good,
Feel
man.
so special calling us special people.
Yeah. So for those of you that are listening in, you probably noticed you're not seeing my handsome face or the face of my guests. Unfortunately, when I do an in-person podcast, because I'm still new at the whole thing, I don't have a camera. But on the bright side, I don't have to do it in my closet right now, because that would be kind of weird, having two other men in my closet. It'd be very, very strange.
Talk about coming out of the closet.
Yeah, right. So today is the day before Thanksgiving, and really the reason I wanted to do this podcast with you guys is because I wanted everybody to know, from LinkedIn to my YouTube channel, that my success is yours. Hey, we got Corey stepping in. What's up, Corey?
Hi.
Hey, service.
What's up, man?
How are you?
Bye.
Bye, Corey. But yeah, so thank you very much, both of you, for doing what you guys do. And considering it's Thanksgiving, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew I was extremely grateful for the service that you guys do and for the work that you guys have to do every single day. I know it's not an easy job, right?
Right. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
it's a grind. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, a grind for sure.
So Chris has been with two different competitors of UniFirst. We won't mention their names; they're not important. But how long have you? Freaking headphones! I'm just gonna take them off. But how long have you been with the industry?
We're going on 6 years.
6
This
years.
would be my, no, probably 5. This would be, the next year would be my 6th.
6 years. Okay. So right about the same kind of time that I've been in the industry, about 6 years.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you like it?
I love the industry. UniFirst is by far the best one I've been a part of. Talking just the team in general. The other places, it's not it's not team oriented like this one is.
Mm-hmm.
And being in sports my whole life, I try to mimic that to sports, like a locker room.
Right.
You don't perform out on the field if the locker rooms are in shambles. And I feel right here in Chubbuck, Idaho, that we got a good crew and constantly in touch. Taylor's and I and you, we're always on the phone with each other daily, probably at least once a day.
Yeah.
But I like the industry a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's kind of a weird industry to have stepped into, because
is.
like, shit, I look weird because I'm holding the headphones up. I'm just trying to make sure you can all hear us. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of
Alright,
a
we'll
weird
make
industry.
fun of you secretly.
Huh?
We'll make fun of you secretly.
Yeah, but no, the whole laundry industry is really strange, because like I probably said it a few times in the podcast where I've been like, I never knew this industry even existed, or that I would be any good at it, or that I would love it as much as I do. It's a very weird thing.
Same
So,
here.
How did you get
Yeah.
into it?
Searching for a job on Indeed, and just came across this, and it said sales representative. But over at the competitors, it's CSRs, customer service rep, and then they recently changed it. But I knew I was great with customers because I worked for Pepsi prior. So I just was looking for a job, and they were the first ones actually that emailed me back and said, come in for an interview. And like you said, it was weird. I was like, laundry? Dirty laundry? And I was like, so essentially I'm just going to be a laundry man. And but dealing with a different customer each day. It is the same ones each week, but every day it's someone different. You get to see the whole kind of everybody's different attitudes and personalities, and I just grew to love it. I love it. So
Yeah. And then Taylor, you're new to the industry. You've been with us for how long?
A little over 6 months now. Yeah.
Wow, 6 months.
Pretty crazy.
It's crazy. I feel like we just met like 3 days ago.
yeah, exactly.
It's, like we said, it's been a grind. It's been at the same time, we must be having some kind of fun because, I mean, look at us now, 6 months in, and it doesn't seem like we've been here that long.
Yeah.
So
It is, I mean, from your standpoint too, because I mean, for Chris to say it's tough is one thing because he's been doing it for quite a while, but how do you feel about it? Like, is it hard? Is it challenging? Is it the hardest thing you've ever done, or is it a cakewalk? What do you think about it?
well, it's not for the weak of mind. I'll just say that, or the weak of emotion, because you're dealing with. I mean, people like to look good, right? And you're literally the liaison to them looking good in many respects. You're making sure their uniforms are looking good, and you're propagating their business image for everybody else to see,
Right.
and that's huge. I mean, it's way beyond just being a laundry guy.
Yes.
Of course, I mean, I think both Chris and I, going into the industry, he's been in it a lot longer than me, but I mean, you read a job description and you see, you read all the different responsibilities and you think, okay, so I'm you try to chalk it up to something that you can understand, but really you don't understand what it's like till you're actually in it. And but I mean, to answer your question, it is probably the most mentally difficult job I've had thus far. And I mean, I've done some college and I've worked other delivery jobs, but going into this, I thought it was a delivery job, and it is, it's that and then some, and then everything else.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a lot more than just dropping off clothes and picking up clothes.
Oh,
because
definitely.
there's a lot of attention to detail that goes into it, and I know from being a sales rep as long as I have, and from talking about the service and kind of promising the customer what will happen and whatnot. Sometimes it's really interesting to get your guys' point of view to know what exactly goes on with the customer, what kind of challenges you guys having. Like, are we having the same challenges as our competitors? And
Right.
ultimately, that's what the customer's looking for as well. Is like, are you guys going to be challenged the same way that the incumbent is, right?
Exactly.
And if
Yeah.
so, why do I switch? What's the
Right.
point? Is it just for money? Is it for lower cost? Is it for more value? So, yeah. But the other aspect of it too is you guys are also salespeople like me in a sense, because you upsell the customer, right? You sell them jackets, beanies, ancillary items, but you can also add revenue to the stop, right?
Right. Yeah.
So tell me about,
And it's encouraged to do that.
yeah,
That's part of the job.
right. But you're training into that too. I mean, you guys have gotten training from your service manager, obviously, and from your is it called certification process? What's it called for you guys?
Certification process.
SCP.
SCP.
I think is the acronym.
Yeah.
Service curriculum program.
Gotcha.
I'd have to look at the book again, but our service manager could tell us exactly.
Oh, how dare you!
Oh,
Cell phone ringing on a podcast.
oh,
I'm gonna get smacked for that. No, just kidding.
weird.
Yeah. So your training was a little bit different than mine, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
right? Tell me more about that. Tell me about your training. What
Well,
do you guys go through?
it was kind of a probably unique training from what the run-of-the-mill guy gets, starting with UniFirst, because both Chris and I started basically right when the pandemic, coronavirus started. So I kind of got a crash course training, and I had to kind of be quick on my feet and with my learning to kind of catch on really quickly to see, to basically catch the horse as it's running, to figure out what I needed to do to keep all the customers happy. But a lot of the training is hands-on. There is a lot of computer, training that they've implemented. I think, as the company has gotten more tech savvy. And so we did a little bit of that when I first started. I did go to our regional facility over in Salt Lake in the beginning, and I kind of met the team that I would be working with, met my management team, and I also saw the production side of things. I thought that was kind of unique of UniFirst. They wanted to show me basically the department that I wasn't necessarily going to be a part of, but how what I did connected to them, and I thought that was kind of cool. Because not all companies are all about interdepartment integration, you know. And so I thought that was cool, and I've since seen how necessary that is to have a team that is going to work with you, and having all your departments communicate well, especially with this type of industry, because there's so many moving parts, there's so many things that can go wrong, and it's all urgent things, you know, because when something does go wrong, you know, and somebody's uniforms don't look good, how soon is that, you know, how soon is that problem realized, you know, by the customer, and how painful is that for the customer to have to deal with? So, I mean, you got to think about it in, you know, as it goes down the line from the production side to the service side, all the way down to the customer. It's all, you know, it's a relay race, really. Wow, did we just lose power?
I think so. But luckily we're operating on a laptop.
We're off the grid.
Yeah, we're off the grid. That was crazy. The power just went out for a second. See, that's really cool, because I didn't know that part about your guys' training, that you guys actually get very, not a similar thing, but it's, not a close thing, but it's very, very, I guess it is close, because you guys still went and kind of intermingled with the CSRs and with the production team and everything else. Like, I remember part of my training as a sales rep is the first week or the second week, we actually had to go to the plant and actually work at like all the different stations in the plant.
Yeah, so that is essentially what we did as well.
COVID saved me.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that part.
I didn't
Chris didn't have to do that, apparently, but I mean, he's a 5-year veteran in this industry, so
right.
Who, you know, maybe wiggled his way out of that one.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I like about our company too, is that even though you're a veteran, you're still going to be put through the paces normally, right?
And you learn something every day.
Yeah.
There's something that I don't know that I'm like, Taylor knows something that I don't even know, and I'm like, whoa, hold on. Then, you know, you learn something every day. So constant education on everything, pretty much.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I feel like I learn new sales tactics or a new way to sell a different product. Or see, I gave you crap for it, and now my phone's blowing up. But yeah, well, that's awesome. So as far as goals and aspirations, I mean, from an RSR, you could go to be a service manager, and historically, what I've seen in the company, at least, is I've seen people get promoted from the service side to take over the position of like regional vice president or the like upper echelon. It's very, very rare that a salesperson will be able to promote to that step, because it's kind of a different career path, right? So as far as the goals, like, what are your guys' goals, aspirations?
Me personally, I started out a little small. Me or Taylor, to go to President's Club. I'm super passionate about that, being around you.
Right.
And I would be really disappointed within the first 3 years if one of us didn't go.
Yeah, me too. That's the goal, right?
Yeah, that's my number one goal. First off, down the road, service manager, district manager, or regional manager, something like that. Probably stay on the service side. I've flirted with the sales. I'm a little intimidated by it, but yeah, first first goal would be President's Club, and then
Don't flirt too hard. Phil might snatch you up.
right.
He's a hardcore sales flirt.
And no, I don't want anybody taking over any part of my territory out here. So you stay where you're at. Yeah, that's so to go to President's Club, you guys just have to not lose a customer for the entire year, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And I think you have to have I think your route has to be a certain volume as well.
Oh, it does?
I think. When I was up in Salt Lake last week, the driver that had made it to President's Club, I'm pretty sure he said you have to meet your numbers plus not lose anybody.
Right. Hold on one second. I'm just going to close
What
this
is
door.
that sound?
That's the computer.
Is it blowing up?
No. It's just restarting, but it's being picked up on the mic the whole time, so. As Chris is attending to something else. I've said this before and I'll say it again too, that I truly feel like the requirements to go to President's Club for drivers are ridiculous. That's just my opinion, right?
Right.
Because if you're listening to this and you're thinking,
There's just different challenges associated with it.
well, yeah, but like, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about, well, what's the big deal? They just have to not lose a customer. The thing that people fail to realize is that when you sell a national account, like our national sales team, who is amazing, by the way, they sell a national account, whether it's Coca-Cola or 7-Eleven or one of these, like one of these big accounts.
Heavy hitter. Yeah.
Yeah, that has multiple locations across the board. We could have one here in little tiny Chubbuck, Idaho, right?
Yep.
And if we have one in Chubbuck, Idaho, that all of a sudden we lose, like let's say that you're 50 weeks in out of 52 weeks in the fiscal year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna go to President's Club, you're ready to go, and then the next 2 weeks you lose a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Because not because you lost it or because they were dissatisfied with our services, but because somebody out in wherever the corporate office is says, hey, we're going to go with somebody else now.
Right.
They take it off your invoice. All of a sudden, you lose an $11 a week account,
Yeah.
and now you don't get to go to President's Club. To me, that's crazy,
It's
right?
very
Like, that has
crazy.
nothing to do with you.
But unfortunately, it's it leads into a good tangent of the things that I've learned as an RSR so far is, and it's an important lesson because you deal with it daily,
Right.
whether it be the day-to-day grumpy customer or the issues that you're trying to solve that you've done everything for, but for whatever reason it still hasn't been resolved yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's just there's only so much you can control,
Yeah.
and that is the frustrating part. It would be nice, like if, like you were saying, we had control of like, oh well, no, we've on our end we have attended to all of the service needs of this 7-Eleven, because that's one you used as an example,
Right.
and we still get to go to President's Club, even though somewhere along the line the national agreement got thrown out of the window. But
I think that's what discouraged drivers too, and make them not be so driven about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was in Salt Lake, again, the only guy that's gloating up there is the one that went.
Right.
But no one else brings it up, talks about it. Which I think about it daily. Like, I'll fight as hard as I can to keep a customer, but it's out of your hands if it's national, and I think that's really crazy that
Yeah.
you lose something like that. I would hope that they would change that at some point.
I'd be really curious to talk to whoever's in charge of that, whether it's like one of the executives up in Universe. And if you guys are listening, open invitation to come on the podcast, by the way. But because like there's such a different dynamic with that thought, because like one of the biggest conversations that people have with Universe is sales versus service, right? Because there's some branches, and you've probably experienced this, Chris, being with the other companies, that there's some branches that sales doesn't talk to service ever, and vice versa, or they just downright hate them, right?
Agreed.
So that's something I've always prided myself on, is being very close to my RSRs or my service managers to ensure that we're all kind of on the same page. We're all a team, right?
Right. Well, and it fits with the culture that we were talking about earlier of that interdepartment, networking.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we're all, we all are, and we all should be, knock on wood, a team, right?
Yeah.
So
definitely. But I feel like where the difference comes into play, maybe this isn't that big of a deal to like executives or the higher ups, is that like if you ask a salesperson like, hey man, are you excited about President's Club? Most of the time they go, oh yeah man, I hope I get it this year, I'm ready to rock and rolling. Every single time apart from you guys who I've talked to about President's Club as far as the RSRs go, it's like whatever.
Exactly.
Right? They're not excited about it because it's almost an unobtainable goal, right? And not because the service is poor, because they lost to a competitive bid. It's because of the whole national sales thing. So, that being said, I don't want to pose a problem without providing a solution, right? So my solution would be, if I wrote the universe law, as it were, to get the RSRs to go to President's Club is still make it challenging, right? But I would say no lost accounts. National accounts are not applicable, right, to that number.
Agreed.
But in order to make up for that, I would say you also have to sell a certain amount of product as well, right? Because then it makes it fair for everybody. They all have a specific that they all have a fair shot at it, right? And make that number because most time for like a direct sale thing, make it maybe $20,000 in a year, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that'd be a fair, alternate option,
Right.
to the whole national agreement.
Yeah.
I think they need to get rid of that. Because that's so hard. Because say if Taylor was here the whole calendar year last year, he would have been going to President's Club up until what was that, the second week to the last of the year.
Yeah.
He lost Tractor Supply.
Right.
And we're like, good thing you weren't here all year, because that would have just gypped you from President's Club.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I don't write the law or what the policy is. I just feel like that needs to be changed. That's the only thing, honestly, I would change with the whole program, with the whole company. It's just that one thing, right? Because I feel like the motivation for the RSR to keep business is obviously there, because you get paid on that business, you get paid on customer satisfaction, which is awesome.
Right.
But without that added extra incentive, I don't know. I don't know. Because like every single day I come in, you guys see, like I have a poster of what the President's Club ring looks like for sale. I look at it almost every single day.
I have to walk by it every single
Yeah,
day.
you walk by it every day, right?
So I want
But that's what pushes me to go that extra mile and to sell that next
Right.
deal, or to push for the bigger deals, because I want that accolade. If that wasn't there and it was just about money, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd just be it, right? That's just me. Maybe other people are different. I don't know. But what are some of the biggest differences that you've seen, Chris, from the culture from where you came from? And don't mention any names. We're not looking to bash our competitors, but the culture of where you came from to here.
Well, my first stop, the relationship between the RSRs and the DSMs, it was pretty good. Where I had my fights was with the sales team.
Right.
Zero communication with there.
Why do you think that is, by the way?
Because I don't think there's. I don't know. To be honest, the sales guy he's been there for over 25 years, and I'm not the only driver that says that. One morning you'll show up, load your truck, and you'll have brand new account just sit there. You don't know where it's at, you know, and hoping that he got the address right, because you're going in blind already now, and no communication, a simple text, a simple email. Hey, we got a new account this week.
There's no passing of the torch.
No. And then you get there.
Pick it up off the ground. Good luck.
Exactly. Perfect example was I had a customer. He was an existing customer, but the sales team went in, sold him some paper. I get there with all the product, and I'm sitting in line waiting to talk to the KI, and that guy ripped me up one side and down the other because I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know which bathroom and he ripped me up pretty good. And from then on, I just told the sales team, don't even bother coming over on this area because you're not communicating, period. And a lot of the RSRs over there pretty much did the same thing. Just stay out of my area.
Right.
And the relationship between the sales and service was not good at all on both locations where I was at. But my last company, it was more of a team. Locker room was divided pretty much between the drivers and the upper management. Yeah. And I did not like that at all. Just uncomfortable feeling every day. Yeah. And what customer's going to chew me out today because I did my job, passed it on to the uppers. They didn't do it. And it was a mess. Yeah.
I feel like that's because the way that I was brought up in this industry was if you sell an account, you should be at the install, right? You should be there when the account meets the drivers, right? When the account meets the service manager, when the account is getting their product, just to ensure everything goes smoothly, right? And there's a whole bunch of different schools of thought on how to do that. My personal favorite, like what we do here, that is if I'm not out getting some other company all signed up, right, is we try to schedule a pre-visit. So the week before or 2 weeks before, go in, introduce yourselves, right? Right. And then have that conversation of what to expect the first day. Maybe bring by the invoice, maybe show them that. That way there's no surprises. There's no surprises on the invoice. You know what they're going to run for. The customer knows, right? And then from there, it's a very smooth transition after that. Because there's also a handoff between sales to service, like the pass the torch that you were saying, Taylor, right? Is grab it and hand it to your service person and go, this is yours now, right? Yep. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Taylor?
I think it's right on to be able to have a meeting to introduce, yourself and to basically begin that business relationship that you're going to have. Because at the end of the day, it's creating that business relationship with that customer. It starts with the sales guy. The RSR or service team is who carries it forward. Yeah. And you hope that because you hope that you can just carry that relationship and show everybody what UniFirst is all about. So I think it's not only a good idea, it's necessary because as Chris was talking about, if that simple soft skill of communication isn't used, everything is for naught. Everything's a waste. Right. What's the point of even calling it a business relationship at that point? Yeah. Because there's, we all have families. We all have relationships. Like we have people in our lives that we care about. The most important thing I think is keeping up to date with them, and you do that by communicating. There's no better way to do it. Really. Yeah.
And with this too, like I'm trying to think of the motivation behind some of these salespeople that don't talk to their service guys or vice versa, right? Because it's very, I think part of it is like the whole blaming game because like I've dealt with route service representatives who will immediately go, sales guy sold this for free or did this, just to get this deal or whatever, and it's a crappy deal, it's a small deal, I don't want to do it, right? Right. Because if you have 20, 30 stops each and every day, and then you're having to pick up another account that's like $35 a week, that's not super appealing because as a driver you don't make that much money in the account, right?
Right.
Like I think that's a large part of it too. But I think from a sales standpoint, salespeople make the mistake of thinking, well, my job is to sell, your job is to go service those accounts, right? They get this weird sense of ownership over the company, right?
Right.
My thought process is if you guys make money, you're happy. You're going to stay, right?
Yeah.
The worst thing in the world, in my opinion, is when RSR leaves, who was very tenured, who was really good at what their job was, and then we get somebody new that just goes in and messes everything up, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that we can't train that person, we totally can, but it's
Sure.
so much more effective to have that person who gets to know the customer, right? Like I'll tell you from my conversations with prospects, when they tell me, we've had 3 drivers in the last 2 years.
That's what me and Taylor's been listening to.
Yeah.
You know, when we first started, they didn't give Taylor a shot in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it took him some grinding to do to build those relationships because they're like, oh, different face. We'll probably get another one next
Yeah,
week.
almost
Yeah, it's
every
about
customer.
trust, right?
I wonder how long you're gonna last.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And to bring it up with your, communication with us, it's
Mm-hmm.
by far the best I've ever had. Best relationship with sales I've ever had. And
Well, to be fair, you only have to deal with one salesperson.
well,
There's not a
usually-
group of 5 people here that are all different
Right.
personalities and
Right.
stuff.
For
Oh.
the same reason that we have challenges in our area, we also have great advantages. So
That's
Right.
true.
Yes, it is.
we're a small knit team here.
Right.
And by the way, BTC was very pleased with our install. They said they've never had somebody, because they've switched vendors like 4 times,
Oh yeah.
hence the 100 holes in the walls.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed when I took the dispensers off, there was like 30 holes like
I know.
where something else had been. I was like, where do I put this?
Exactly.
It was pretty crazy.
If I put one more screw in here, the whole square is just going to fall in.
Yeah, the wall's gonna fall off.
And they said it was the smoothest they've ever seen.
Oh, that's excellent.
And that was coming from Jordan. He's like, I'm super impressed. I was like, I appreciate that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why talking with your drivers and having that conversation is so important, because we must have talked about that install for what, like
Months.
a month
Yeah.
before we like actually went in and did it.
Mm-hmm.
And even the day of, we were stressing because we didn't have certain products. We needed to make sure we got this, and our team in Salt Lake was great about sending that stuff up to us like right away,
Right.
Right.
and it went super smooth.
It
So
did.
you have to go? Is that what you're looking at me?
I was just gonna. Our transit driver's about to leave, so I just wanted to
Oh yeah.
follow up with Chris, see if you needed. Did he tell you you needed to talk with one of us?
I don't think so.
Maybe I'll duck out
Yeah.
for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
You guys can keep going.
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Sure. Business never stops, ladies and gentlemen. This is real life right here. So, yeah, that's the best thing in the world to hear, is that something went smooth with an install. And again, you don't get that without the communication.
No.
Right? You have to have that. It's paramount. Yeah, that's super awesome. So what questions do you have for me, if any, like about sales or about anything else we've been through? Because you've been here now for what, a year?
No, 6-7 months.
Oh, the same as Taylor.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I forget because you have a lot of experience.
Well, questions for you would be, what's your hardest task to tackle when it from your first interview or your first phone call to the signing? What's the most difficult part of that transition?
I want to say building the relationship, but that kind of comes with the territory, right? I think probably is building trust that you're going to be better than who they had before.
Right, because you never get to see them or see
Yeah.
that interview or.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, if you're listening, we're using a lot of vernacular in this podcast. I apologize, but we have classifications of customers on 2 levels, right? There's programmers who already have one of my competitors already, right? Maybe they're contractually obligated to them, maybe not. Maybe it's coming up for expiration. That's probably the hardest thing in retrospect, is when you go into a competitive environment and the customer tells you in the beginning, yeah, we're ready to go, and they're hot and heavy and they want to sign up with you. The hardest thing is to kind of take it off the table a little bit and go, whoa, hold on. Before we talk about switching, we need to make sure that you're in a legal position to buy, right? Because like how I address it is I go, listen, I'm a sales guy. So if you tell me yes, Mr. Customer, we're signing up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we will be your vendor of choice, right? We'll bring you uniforms, do everything else. But if you look back into your agreement and you say, oh, I can't because I have 2 more years left, and you haven't followed whatever the performance guarantee is, which we always advise people to do, right? Mm-hmm. That's probably the hardest part. Because like as a sales guy, the selfish part of me, the hungry side of me says, get the deal, worry about it later, right? But historically, that's what's contributed to people not trusting salespeople, is that they take shortcuts in the process.
Right.
We don't do that here. A lot of other people, other companies, like I've heard crazy stories about that they do that, but we don't. We also don't give legal advice. So even though I may dress like a lawyer, I may sound like a lawyer from time to time, I'm not a lawyer. So I tell people, don't take my legal advice as gospel. And you've probably heard me say that to customers, right?
Yeah, I have.
But I think that's the hardest part. But on the flip side of that, for no programmers, which are customers that don't have a managed program in place, that don't have a contract with anybody, maybe they're just purchasing T-shirts, right? Or like Red Bull, it gives you wings. But if they're purchasing like high visibility vests or safety apparel or something like that, it makes it kind of a tougher sale, because now we have to sell on the value and not just the price, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's another tough part is for reps, because let's say they get behind a couple weeks or like 3 weeks or so, and now they're like, oh, I can't have a 0 week, or I can't have a week where I didn't make a sale because that's my job, I'm going to get fired or whatever. They get super desperate and they start to take shortcuts in the process, right? And by the way, the process too, like, I practice it at least 6 to 8 times a week, right? Because I have between 6 to 8 appointments a week on average that I'm going through all that. So jumping back to your question, the short answer is really it's just taking that deal off the table. You know what sucks is I've had customers that have been ready to move, and then they go back and they look at their agreements or their contracts with their vendor, and they go, we can't do anything. We just signed up for another 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Or they go, oh, I've got 2 more years left, right? That being said, I do have customers too that have had so many issues with their service that they've just said, we don't care. And we'll just leave. We'll sign up with you and we're good to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. We're talking about questions for
Philip.
Yeah. Me, I guess.
Oh, questions you get as a sales guy?
Well, no, just questions you guys might have, or if you have anything to add to the episode.
Well, I just saw our transit driver off, so my mind's
somewhere different.
Kind of just went off in a different direction.
That's all good.
But if anything, it's Thanksgiving weekend. We appreciate you, Phil, for what you do.
Well, it's my pleasure, man. I'm glad that you guys do what you do, and
I think,
I'm super happy to have you guys on the team. My wife's funny because she'll get like, my phone like blows up at night. It's usually Chris like sending me a text like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, why? And he's like, I have a lead for him. I'm like, wait till tomorrow. we'll talk then, right? And then like 10 minutes later, he'll get a text that says, how big is it?
Exactly.
and then I'll call him if he's like, it's big. I'm like, yeah, what's up, dude? Yeah, but no, I just wanted to make sure to record this episode just so people know publicly on LinkedIn, on YouTube, that I greatly appreciate what you guys do. You guys are amazing. Do you guys have anything to say to my subscribers or the people on LinkedIn before we close it out?
Definitely listen to Stop Interviewing and Start Selling. Did I say it right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Chris, anything?
You're a great team player, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
There's reason that you got the championship belt.
Yeah, we're looking at this really cool like championship belt that my sales manager Chris Baker. Shout out to Chris Baker. He sent me, which is never, ever, ever gonna leave this office. It might come home with me today and be on the mantelpiece in my fireplace.
Good motivation.
But before we close, I just want to say real quickly, LinkedIn is not a sponsor of mine, so you can rest assured that I have no weird motivations to promote them. If you don't have a LinkedIn page, go on LinkedIn today, make a LinkedIn page, put your resume up there. Guys, there's always jobs that pop up. That's the best place in the world that recruiters are targeting right now to target people. Excuse me. You know, in some markets, UniFirst is hiring, so hit us up at www.unifirst.com. LinkedIn is www.linkedin.com. If you like this episode of Stop Interviewing, Start Selling, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to my podcast, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Happy Thanksgiving.